Hello, everyone. So today I want to talk about specifically about the channels and how to open a channel through meditation. In the end, we're going to do a guided meditation. So today what we're going to look at specifically is the element of water and the kidney meridian and how to open the kidney meridian. Okay. So basically, as the Qi Gong technique that I've described before, right, basically involves sort of inhaling, clearing the mind, and then exhaling and focusing the mind on a certain part of the body. So basically the mind controls where the energy goes. So the mind focuses and then the energy builds in that area. Okay. Now, eventually what happens is the chi, right, gets stronger. So what happens is your mind first focuses the energy, right? So on the exhale you're focusing, the inhale you're not focusing. And eventually what happens is that you build a sensation in the body that gets stronger and stronger until we call that Qi. And then essentially the Qi, what happens is the Qi then starts to move on its own, and then your mind follows the Qi. But in the beginning of the meditation, or when you're trying to do something specific in the meditation, you first have to put the mind where you want the Qi to go. So the meditation can kind of go in two ways. One is that your mind is controlling the Qi, and your mind is going there first, where there's no feeling. And then later, what can happen is that you start to feel the Qi, and then the Qi just starts to move on its own, and it's not really controlled by your mind, but your mind, your attention is following the Qi as it moves through the different meridians. Now, when we're opening the kidney meridian, we're going to look at how to move the Qi, how to focus the mind first, and then guide the Qi to that place to open that meridian. Okay? The meridians will open on their own if you do the meditation long enough, but you can also focus on certain points of the body and then observe and start to guide the Qi along those meridians and actually open those meridians in a more conscious way. And that's what we're going to try to do today with the kidney meridian. Okay. So essentially, when we open a meridian or some part of the body, we're essentially placing our attention there, and then that's where the energy goes. So when we were younger, I'm not sure at what age, but our meridians were open when we were babies, essentially. And then they kind of close off as you get a little older. And the older you get, the longer time it takes to reopen them, right? So I've taught meditation to teenagers, and the Qi just starts to open up the meridians really fast. Whereas if you teach somebody in their 50s, 60s, or something like that, it takes more time, okay? Now, when you're opening the meridian, basically, or opening a channel in the body, again, you have to place your mind on that part of the body, and then you focus in the exhale, and then release the attention on the inhale. Okay, and that's what the technique is, and it's very simple, but it's different than other meditations in this way, in that simple technique of clearing the mind, focusing the mind, seems to build some sort of electromagnetic energy in the body. Okay, and it seems to go along these predefined channels. Now there's 12 channels in the body, each relating to a different organ or anatomical structure that's recognized by Chinese medicine. We can list those in the order of the 5 elements. So basically, for the water element, we have the kidney and the bladder. For the wood element, we have the liver and the gallbladder. For the fire element, we have the heart, the pericardium, the sanjiao, and the small intestine. For the earth element, we have the spleen and stomach. And for the metal element, we have the lung and large intestine. Now, there's reasons why they get associated into these 5 groups, but there is a logic to it, and we'll slowly start to peel that away as we go through each of these channels. Okay, so from my own personal experience, the Qi definitely flows along these 12 meridians, as well as governing and conception channel, which we've talked about in my 5 classes about how to open the meridians, and you can go into the description and take one of those classes if you like. Okay, now, basically, when you start the Qi Gong meditation, you're going to start to feel the Qi move along these predefined meridians. But as you become a more experienced practitioner and your meridians become open, there's less sensation. It's kind of like when there's resistance, you can feel the resistance. But then as it opens, there's no resistance, and the Qi's flowing smoothly. So then there's no resistance, and then the sensation becomes less and less. right? And so that's why, like, at the very higher levels of meditation, where people do meditations for long periods of time, they get into the space of just like no feeling. They just empty, and they just kind of, there's no time, there's no sensation, there's no feeling. I've certainly been in these moments where it's just time just goes by and you experience nothing. And that's a really creative place to be, a very interesting place to be. But that doesn't happen until meridians are all open and the Qi's flowing freely. Okay? Now, sometimes if you stop a meditation, or you're not meditating as much, so for instance, you go to a time where you're getting to that space of just emptiness and pure silence in your body, and then you stop meditating for a little while, and then you start again, you might start to notice that the meridians have closed up and you need to do some work to reopen them again. It might take less time to reopen them the second time around, but you'll still start to feel the sensation along those meridians as they reopen again. Okay? Now, the kidney channel is, which we're going to focus on today, is paired with the bladder channel and the heart channel. And actually, it's interesting. The kidney has a very interesting thing because it's kind of like the yin of the body. So, remember yin and yang. So in the Taoist thought, the yin and the yang need to be in perfect harmony. And if you get the yin and the yang to be in perfect harmony, then you get immortality. So if if the kidneys sort of represent the yin of the body, then what would represent the yang? If you can think about it, what would be the most yang organ of the body if the kidneys are the most yin? Think. It would be the heart. So it's interesting. So they actually see that the kidneys in the body are the opposite of the heart. And so if you're thinking about immortality and you need to get the yin and the yang to be in perfect harmony with each other, then what we're looking at is basically getting the yin and the yang, the heart and the kidneys in perfect harmony. So we're going to start with the kidney meditation and opening up the kidney channel, and then later we'll get to the heart, of course. And then the goal, to achieve immortality is then to perfectly balance the yin and the yang in the heart with the yin and the kidneys. Okay. And if you think about the yin, now as the most yin organ in the body, we have the kidney. And if you think about the 5 elements, what would be the most yin element of the 5 elements? It would be water. Okay, water is very stable. It matches whatever container it's in. It doesn't have a shape of its own. It doesn't have sort of a will of its own. It just sort of shapes around what's around it. Okay, it also has the tendency to kind of go down and follow gravity. It seeps into small areas, right? Now, on the surface of the water, it can be quite disturbed, and that can be sort of an uncomfortable. That can represent fear. It can represent sort of anxiety. It can represent sort of, just think about like sort of an unsettled, think about an emotion that represents, a bunch of wind and, creating waves on the water, okay, this unsettled thing. That would be sort of the negative emotion. But then if you go below the surface, you get this deep calm, this real deep calm. And as you go deeper and deeper into the water, the light disappears, and guess what? We get the color black. And so when you're doing long Qi Gong meditations, in the last video I talked about swirling colors. Well, one of the colors you might start to see that swirls around when the Qi reaches the upper dantian is the black Qi. And the black Qi, of course, might be coming from either the bladder or the kidneys, which both have sort of this black Qi because it comes from the water element, right? And so as the black Qi sort of rises in the body, it can be visualized, with other Qis from different organs to kind of create this swirling. Okay. Now, the kidney has sort of this emotion. It has an element, right? And it's also yin, and it helps balance the yang in the body. It also is, you'll notice that the meridian actually terminates at the more yin part of the body, which is the bottom of the foot. Now, in Chinese medicine, there are 5 major functions known for the kidneys, right? First of all, you have it dominates growth and reproduction. It produces marrow, and it fills up the brain and dominates the bones, and assists in production of the blood. It dominates water because it is water, so it sort of controls the water of the body. It also controls the reception of qi because it's receptive, because it's a yin organ, so it's receiving, it's not creating. So heart, you think heart is pumping blood, and water is basically just receiving water, and then it's using the metal, it's using the salts to actually take water out, to separate water from the urea. Okay, so basically, you ever learn about biology? Basically, what happens is you have the urine goes into the body, and you use the salt to actually pull the water out, right, through osmosis, right, of the body. But that's a very sort of yin reaction. It's just sort of water going in, and then it's getting sort of separated out. Okay, now. Now the other thing that for the sense organ, it actually comes from the ear. So, people that work on their kidneys or do meditation with a kidney, they might notice a sensation in the ear. And some people who've done lots of meditation, perhaps they have improvements in their hearing as well. Okay, whether or not that comes directly from the kidney, it's quite complicated, hard to say. But I've been in classes where somebody has regained substantial amounts of hearing in their ear from the meditation, and whether or not that's connected to the kidney needs further research. But according to Chinese medicine, there is some kind of relationship. Okay, so basically, if you're kind of a person that has a hard time sitting down, you're always moving around, well, you probably didn't even make it through this far into the video. But if you have, congratulations. But the kidney is going to be sort of the opposite of the heart. So a very yang person is always active. They always have to be doing something. Whereas a very yin person is just happy to kind of like be there, sit there, contemplate, chill out, right? So when you're trying to balance the two, sometimes a person who's overly yang, it's good to do a yin meditation, and especially on the kidneys, strengthen up the kidneys. And people like that tend to be very active, they have a hard time sitting still, contemplating, which can affect their levels of creativity. It affects their ability to develop a vision. People that tend to be very fiery, they kind of like jump onto someone else's vision. They like to grab onto other people's ideas, and they kind of just like go, but they don't really think about stuff. So that it becomes a little harder to be creative. Whereas a really yin person, they can kind of like just sort of sit there, and then a flash of inspiration might happen or something like that. And so that's, a lot of times these flashes of inspiration come out of come out of this silence, come out of the quiet in the body. Okay. So we're going to work on, strengthening the yin organ of the body, which is the kidney, and opening up the channel. If we look at the map of the kidney channel, it actually starts at the little toe and crosses the sole of the foot to kidney 1 at the sole of the foot there. And this is the point where we'll focus our attention during the meditation, is the sole of the foot. Then the Qi will go up the side of the leg, on the median side of the leg, and it will go all the way up the side of the leg, and it'll intercept with Du 1, okay? And that's basically right at the tailbone in the Ming Men, which is something I've talked about in an earlier video, okay? And you can see the link of that below as well. Now, as it reaches the Ming Men, it also kind of comes to the lower Dandian, and it has points that connect to the lower Dandian in the front channel, right? The conception channel. And that's the Ren number 3 and Ren number 4 points, okay? Now, when I'm doing the meditation, while I think it's really interesting to follow theories of Chinese medicine, I like to follow also personal experience, because I believe a lot of this Chinese medicine was done a long time ago when people had very few distractions and they had lots of time to really go deep into the body. And there was this really amazing opportunity, period of time where people probably did lots of meditation, lots of discussion, and then wrote all their experiences down during these meditations and mapped all this incredibly complicated stuff out, which is another reason why I'm sharing this, because I really think that we are in a new age of technology where we're getting to the point where we could potentially use our new technologies to remap this all out if people were just willing to sit still and try to feel it in their body, and then basically bridge this with some modern technology. So like, this is my experience, bridge it with some modern technology, and then remap all of this and reprove Chinese medicine scientifically, right? And we're not there yet, but let's try together, okay? So as we get, so for the meditation, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the bottom of the foot. So remember, we're talking about the meditation. You got inhale, you clear your mind. Exhale, you focus where you want the Qi to go, right? And when generally speaking, when you start the meditation, if you're new to Qi Gong, you want to open up the governing and conception channel. And so as we're opening up the microcosmic orbital, that would be the first step. But for some people, actually, it's better to open the kidney channel before the microcosmic orbital. And some people like that might be, you don't want the Qi to go to the head. For instance, we had one student that had really high blood pressure, so the goal was to basically bring the qi down to the bottom of the foot, which would lower the blood pressure because it would sort of open up the channel in the leg and then increase the blood flow in the leg, so that when the qi did go up to the head, it wouldn't be as strong, and it was less likely to cause some problem if the qi did go up to the head. Because as the qi goes up the head, so does the blood and fluids. If you have a high blood pressure, maybe something will burst. So and also if you're just looking to be more grounded or something, you might want to bring the qi down to the bottoms of the feet before we bring it up to the head. Okay, so to do this, what we want to do is we want to be meditating on the middle dantian and then bringing the qi to the lower dantian. Okay, now we don't have to have opened up the microcosmic orbital first before we bring the qi to the bottoms of the foot to the kidney channels. But what we do need to do is we need to at least open up the channel from the middle dantian down to the lower dantian, and then be bringing the qi down between the legs to the Huiyin point and then to the Mingmen. And the reason for that is that in my experience, the qi, when you're trying to connect the bottom of the foot to the kidneys, my experience is that you do feel the qi in the kidneys, and then it goes up the sides of the legs, but it doesn't actually it doesn't go directly from the lower dantian to the kidney. It seems to kind of go down between the legs to the tailbone to the Mingmen, and then from the Mingmen into the kidneys. So that's been my experience in the past. And I would, if you have a different experience of how the qi flows, if you're actually really working on this meditation daily and you're interested in researching this and rediscovering Chinese medicine from a real practical personal experience, and trying to rediscover how all these theories actually work in your own body, then do the meditation on the kidneys and sort of see where it connects from the bottom of the foot into the kidneys. And I'm thinking you're probably going to share the same experience as me, because it also shows up in Chinese medicine where the qi kind of goes from the bottom of the feet up the sides of the legs, and then you're going to feel the lower dantian, but then you're going to really feel the qi going under between the legs into the tailbone and then branching out the sides and into the kidneys. Okay, so why don't we, now to do this properly, it's going to take a little bit of time to get the qi that strong. Now, if you do a lot of meditation, then you might have a really strong mind-body connection, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're going to the gym. We're doing the gym workout for mind-body connection. This is the mind-body connection gym here, right? And so as we're going from the bottom of the feet into the kidneys, right, I would recommend a longer meditation, maybe 30-40 minutes, or you could do a long a meditation opening the microcosmic orbital first, and then start meditating on the bottoms of the feet, up the sides of the legs, and into the kidneys. Okay? So why don't we try to do this together? I think it would be quite interesting. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to try to break it up into two stages. Okay, so if you want to follow along and do the meditation with me, that would be awesome. We'll become like meditation partners. And I always do find that if you meditate with someone else, it is better than meditating on your own. You're more focused, and somehow the qi gets stronger when there's another person in the room. Don't know why that works, but it just seems that way. And then when you get larger groups, the qi actually gets stronger. Okay, so why don't we do the meditation together? We're going to start with first, feeling the part of the body that we want, right? So feeling the bottom of the foot and feeling the kidneys. So you might want to rub the sole of your foot, rub your kidneys, and then we'll start standing for 10 minutes, and then we can do sitting meditation for 10 minutes. And then I'll just try to guide you through it, and we can do it together. And if you enjoy these kinds of meditations, then send me a comment, a like, and then maybe we can even try to do more guided meditations together for longer periods of time. Okay? All right, so we'll begin in just a sec. All right, so if you're still with me at this point, then it means you're actually interested in Chinese medicine. And not only you're interested in medicine, but you should really be interested in science in general, and discovering new things. Because what we're looking at is we're kind of researching in our own bodies Chinese medical theory, and then trying to figure out what it is, and also improving our health at the same time. So if we want to open up the Kidney Meridian, please follow along, and then we're going to explore and discuss how the qi is flowing along this meridian. So first we're going to start with the standing meditation. And I like standing meditation because what happens is we're engaging the legs. And the legs, that's the biggest muscles in the body, right? Obviously the tongue's like the biggest muscle, but we've got lots of muscles in the quads and things. And that creates blood pressure here, right? And so as we're increasing the blood pressure, it's pushing the blood up into the body. And so Qi has two aspects. It's obviously the fluids, right? And then there's also like this energy, right? This electromagnetic energy. No one's really defined it yet. And so basically one precedes the other. So we have this sort of focus, where the focus goes, the attention, the sensation, the electromagnetic energy in the body, wherever that begins. And then the fluids flow to that area next, okay? And so as we engage the legs, it actually makes it easier for those fluids to then move to that area, okay? Now, some people, when you're doing Qi Gong meditation, some people can go for really long periods of time. But because we're doing this together for the first time, we're going to just do 10 minutes of standing meditation. Now, the cool thing about standing meditation is you don't have to be quite as focused as sitting meditation. Obviously, the more focused you are, the more benefit you get during that period of time. But the nice thing about the standing meditation is you can still build the Qi pretty well and not be quite as dead silent focused. So people can do this outside in a park. You can have a little bit more distraction and still feel the Qi building in the body. Okay? When you're sitting meditation, generally you want to be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more still, a little bit more focused. All right, so let's begin a 10-minute standing meditation focusing on the kidneys. Now, first, as we begin, we're gonna try to get familiar with the point of the body we're trying to stimulate. So here's our foot, and here, you don't have to do the sitting. You could standing. You could do the sitting. But basically, as we're looking at the bottom of the foot here, you just want to get familiar with this point. This is where kidney 1 is. Okay. So as this point lights up, right now, that might take several sessions or it might take some time. But as you start to build sensation in this area of the body, it's more likely that you're engaging that channel that's going to lead into the kidneys. So I like to focus on a point on the extremity. So when we're opening up any channel, whether it's the heart channel, the liver channel, or the kidney channel, or any channel, I like to focus on the extremity because for some reason the Qi, you tend to sort of feel the Qi in the extremities, because they're closer to the surface. There's probably more sensory nerves there, so you can have more sensation at that point. And then the organ, and then basically everything in between kind of starts to open up because you're engaging sort of at the extremity and the core organ where the main channel is, and then by having those engaged, they kind of join together, and then that channel opens up. Now, of course, there is part of the kidney channel that comes up the front of the body here, but we're just going to focus from the kidney down to the bottom of the foot. You might also feel sensation, and you might want to also explore the other points on the kidney meridian in the body. Okay, so again, just massaging the bottom of the foot here. Get familiar with that. Let's switch feet. All right, switch feet here. I'm filming this on my iPad, by the way. So, I'm not able to stand it up and get it quite at the same height. But I think this will work. So we just feel the bottom of the foot here, right? And you're getting familiar with the bottoms of your foot. So we're going to kind of imagine that. And then you're going to feel your kidneys here. So you might just want to, rub the back here. Just get familiar with okay, this is the part. I want to feel the Qi here, and I want to feel it at the bottom of the foot. And then try to feel it going in between, okay? So I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to turn on my watch. Now, if you're in the countryside and you're in a beautiful cabin in the forest and you just hear the wind breezing through the trees and that's the only noise you hear, great, stick with silence. But if you're in an urban environment and there might be some cars, some traffic noise, or someone's footsteps, or some creaks in the house, I strongly recommend some meditation music. I like rain and thunder, or just sort of rain noise, but something that's got a little bit of high end and low end sound, but it's very regular. And then that sort of cancels out the noise. So I've got a little bit of meditation music that's playing right here because I'm in an apartment here in Japan. And let's begin. So standing meditation. Now we want to have a nice bend in the knees, like this, because straight legs, they're not engaged. But if you bend them a little bit, now these muscles are engaged, and then that's going to push the blood up into the body and create a stronger Qi feeling, okay? So knees a bit bent, and then the arms out like this. Now, the arm should be imagine there's water on the shoulder, and it should just sort of drip down and flow off your index finger. It should just sort of flow off your index finger. Okay, so nice relaxed arms. So first we'll begin 10 minutes. Now, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Inhale, clear the mind, and exhale, and we'll focus here above the navel. We'll just focus there for about 2 minutes, right there above the navel. Close your eyes, relax, nice bend of the knees, relax your shoulders, relax arms, and let them hang by your side. Inhale, clear the mind, exhale, focus here. Clear the mind. Exhale, focus on the middle dantian. Bring the attention from the middle dantian down to below the belly button in the lower dantian. So now focusing down there, you might feel some gurgling in your stomach, like you're digesting something, some kind of gas. Inhale, clear the mind, and exhale and focus below the belly button. Now as we're focusing below the belly button, you can also then focus at the bottoms of the feet, the point on the foot that we massaged. Bring your attention to the bottom of the foot and the lower belly at the same time. So bottoms of the feet, lower belly. Now keep focusing on the lower, on the bottoms of the feet, and then try to bring the chi from the lower belly down between the legs, right? Just right between your legs, behind the genitalia, right? Just between the legs. Try to focus between the legs, left side and the right side and the bottom of the feet. What we're going to do is we're going to go to sitting meditation. So I'm going to grab a chair here, and as you may have noticed, as you're standing, you might find it a little harder to focus or go into a deep, calm spot, but you are able to feel the Qi a little bit stronger. So I do recommend doing standing meditations, particularly if you're trying to open up a meridian. They do tend to be more effective for that. Okay, but the sitting meditations, of course, you can go deeper into deeper states of the mind and become more relaxed. So what I'll do is I'll just turn the chair to the side here. Okay. Now during the sitting meditation, because I like to go into a deeper place, I will not speak during the sitting meditation. But what we're going to do is do another 10 minutes of sitting meditation. You're sitting at the edge of your chair, right? Nice and tall like this. You can see the back is flat. And we're focusing again. You want to just rub your sole of your foot. That's the kidney 1 point. So we're going to focus on kidney 1 point, and that's where our attention, our mind's going to go there on the exhale. And hopefully, if you've been practicing and meditating and you have a stronger mind-body connection, you might have already felt that sole of your, the sole of your foot right around kidney 1 during the standing meditation. So we're going to keep building on that, right? And that's always going to get stronger as the meditation goes longer. So we're only doing 10 minutes standing, 10 minutes sitting, but if we go longer than that, this sensation should get even stronger. Okay? So we're just going to focus at the bottom of the foot, and then again guiding the Qi down around between the legs and then to the tailbone. And then it seems, from my personal experience, and of course I'm happy to get any feedback from somebody who's been working on this, that when the Qi goes from the lower dantian down to the tailbone, it then feeds into the kidneys, right? And you don't even need to really pay attention to it. You just kind of focus on the bottom of the foot and the tailbone, and then the Qi just naturally kind of boom into the kidneys. So let's just focus sort of the kidneys, lower tailbone area, and bottoms of the feet. And so on each exhale, you're going to kind of focus on those few places, simultaneously. The lower dantian, you're going to focus the bottom of the foot, tailbone, and then your kidneys. And if that's too much, just focus on the kidneys and the bottoms of your feet. Okay? So inhale, clear the mind. Exhale, bottom of the feet. Focus on the kidney. All right? Let's begin. 10 more minutes. And I won't be speaking during this 10 minutes. So just try to go as deep and as focused as you can for the next 10 minutes. finish your meditations, we rub our hands together, and then we rub our face, and eyes, hair, and ears. And what that does is we've just brought the Qi into the kidneys, and we want the Qi to now return to the lower Dantian and just naturally flow through the body. If we don't do this last step, according to the theory, again, all this needs to be researched again. This is why, what I hope we can do together. But basically, the theory is that you have to rub your hands together, your face, and your eyes, and your hair, because that connects to these other channels, and that brings the Qi from wherever it is back to the lower Dantian. If the Qi doesn't return back there, and you just go on about your day, and the Qi hasn't really naturally returned to its natural place, it can make you uncomfortable throughout the day. So this is why we always finish this. Okay. And anyways, now that you've finished the meditation, please let me know how that went. Did you experience anything interesting? How did you find the standing meditation versus the sitting meditation? I personally find that the Qi gets stronger in the kidneys in the standing meditation than the sitting meditation. But in the sitting meditation, I find it can be a little bit more calm and a little bit more deep. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And in addition to that, I'm really interested in building a community of people that are a little bit scientifically minded, that would like to kind of explore this idea of focusing on a part of the body, opening up the meridian, and then focusing on the different points, and of course, the Chinese, 1,000 years ago when they did this, there's a big number of people working on it. They were the scientists of their day. They were probably meditating and working on people, and then they basically defined all of this. But this practice and this knowledge really needs to get brought into the modern era. Much like martial arts. Martial arts used to be sort of karate, jiu-jitsu, aikido, wrestling, and there's all these different sort of martial arts, and then eventually we started competing in the modern age, and then we found out what really works. The same is with Chinese medicine. We need to go through all of this again, research it, discover it in our own bodies, figure out scientific methodologies to map it, and then retrace the origins of this knowledge and see how it applies in the real world through scientific, and put it through scientific rigor. So if you're somebody like this that actually wants to do these meditations with me, explore it, discuss them, what if I put my focus here? Where do you feel the Qi go then? How does the Qi flow? There's lots of questions and dialogue that needs to be created, and that's a really interesting part of this meditation. You can do the meditation, but then having the discussion and the discovery of your body can also keep it motivating, interesting, and engaging. So please get in touch, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I hope you have time to watch my next video.